Hey, good afternoon. My name is Unica Walcott. Thank you so very much for tuning into today's episode of Career Conversations. Today's guest is Miss Kathryn Bennett, CPSM. She is also APMP's for on AMP. Y'all, I cannot get it together this morning. Give me like 2 seconds. We're gonna start this again. I'm sure Kathryn's dying in the background. So I'm gonna just relax. Okay, so good morning. Thanks for checking out Career Conversations. My name is Unica Walcott. Today, my guest is the Director of RFP Excellence at Loopio. Her name is Kathryn Bennett. She's a certified professional services marketer, which you will hear me say is CPSM. We'll also explain what the heck an RFP is later if you're not a part of the industry. I got that text this morning. It was funny, but I get it. And so I want to welcome Kathryn Bennett to the show. We're going to talk about her career journey. Thanks so much for tuning in, friends. Hey, Kathryn, welcome.
Good morning. Good to see you today. How are you?
Good. I was like, look, I'm having a moment. And rather than pretend like I'm not having a moment, let's just keep it real.
That is the right choice.
So, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
How are you today?
It's good. It's great to be here. It has been a really astounding week with the 40 under 40 being named. We've over here at Loopio, we've got our internal user conference coming up and where we can tell people all about sales through proposals. So it's just, there's been a lot going on this last month. So I'm excited to share career conversations with the folks that are joining today.
Oh, that's awesome. So you mentioned Lupicon. I want to put this link out there early. We'll share it again later. But if you guys are interested in registering for the conference, it is free. Do you want to tell people a little bit more about Lupicon really quick?
Sure. So if you're in the sales industry and you have to submit proposals to customers for any reason, Loopio is a great tool that helps automate a lot of that process and takes a lot of the low value work out of your everyday life and helps you elevate your practice and elevate your proposals. So you could be a proposal manager, you could be a solutions consultant, you could be an AE or account executive salesperson who's facing proposals all the time. So at Lupicon, what we're doing is we're bringing the newest industry insights around proposal management and around best practices and even career pathing for folks that are in the proposal industry so that you can learn how to advance your own practice and really move ahead in the industry. So we're so excited. It's 2 days. We have some extraordinary keynote speakers. Erica Dewan, who has written all about Zoom body language. So how do you remain really professional in the digital space? And then we also have Second City at Toronto, which is a comedy group, and they're going to be doing a comedy series all about proposals, which I am personally absolutely thrilled to hear because proposal stuff is actually pretty funny. So I think we'll have a good time.
I'm like, okay, when is this session? Because I need a good laugh because the job is high stress, y'all.
Yeah. So that's September 28th and 29th. You can register for free online, no cost at all. Hop in as you want. Come check out the sessions, come chat with people at the seminars, and we'll just all have a really good time. It's great.
Okay, and there's a link for people that are interested in, learning some stuff and also getting a good laugh.
Yeah.
Because those two things are essential for your well-being.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're the Director of RFP Excellence at Lupicon. Can you tell me, what does that mean? What does your family think you do when you tell them that you're the Director of RFP Excellence?
Well, it's funny because most of my family is actually in the federal proposal space. So everybody, I've actually got some engineers in my family that are pretty familiar with this activity. But so Director of RFP Excellence here at Loopio, I think I am probably the only person in the world with this job title, if I'm honest. Because I don't think I've seen anybody else, but really what it is, it's a director of excellence position that's specifically targeted towards the proposal space, sales proposals for both private and public entities. And really what we're striving to do within the Office of RFP Excellence is to elevate the practice of proposal management beyond just checking the box and beyond just sending in the document or just doing the process. What we really want to do is make proposals a loved process and also a process that is easier and more streamlined and really seen as a professional value in a lot of organizations, because I think we're struggling with that a little bit. So that thought leadership is pretty much where my mandate lies. I love it. I'm having a great time.
Oh, that is good that you love it and you're having a great time and you're on a mission to make this a loved process. I think that you're very spot on about the fact that we could, definitely take some ways to take some of the the mundane pieces out and give us time to do the more valuable pieces of, strategy related, rather than like, did we even put a paragraph in related to this one request from the client that no one else asked us for, or we'd have a boilerplate for it.
Yeah. I get really resentful when folks want me to, I've spent a lot of time getting educated to be very good at my craft. And when I have to do things like keeping track of forms, when a computer can do it, right? Like, or when I have to, spell or grammar check something, a computer can do that. And that's why I'm always trying to think of ways in which a computer can do the low value work so that we can really elevate what it is that we're doing. Because I don't want the proposal teams to be seen as as like glorified admins. That's not what we're about. We are extremely well educated. We're very precise in our activities, and if we're not allowed to bring that value, it really doesn't behoove us as humans. Like, we need to be operating at our max capacity. That's what I'm hoping to deliver to the proposal industry.
That makes perfect sense. Not that the admin work is a bad thing. It's just two different kinds of work, very much so.
Absolutely.
Someone says, "Happy Saturday! Glad to be spending with fellow proposal geeks." Hey, welcome to the party. And also, someone said, "Hi there, happy Saturday." If you guys are coming up as LinkedIn user for me, that means that you have not given StreamYard permission to access your information, so that I can call you by name. So if you want to, pop in and change that sort of access level, let me know, or just tell me when you comment, "Hey, this is, so and so." That would be really helpful. But it sounds like you are really passionate about your work. How did you become the Director of RFP Excellence? Like, what this title no one else has? How did that happen?
Sure. So I left the proposal industry for a number of years, kind of mid-career, because I felt really disillusioned with it. I was struggling to find traction, and I just felt like, there have to be other opportunities that would suit me a little bit better. And so I went off and I did some Lean Six Sigma work at a local mental health facility. I taught high school chemistry because I have a chemistry degree. Of course.
So you're just like, how did you land in proposals with a chemistry degree? I'm just curious.
Oh, totally by accident. So back in the day, I was so my first jobs out of college were working at Department of Defense laboratories where we neutralized chemical weapons. So I had to wear like a gas mask around my hip and have, antidotes to the chemicals and stuff. It was super intense. Military lockdown, you got to put your handprint in to get into the facility, like very, very, kind of spy novel stuff. So I worked in the laboratories there for 3 or 4 years. And then I ended up at the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency lab. So the folks that test NFL and Olympic athletes to make sure they're not abusing steroids before they go to the Olympics. I was over there I answered a newspaper ad to get that job. And I happened to know.
Really?
Yeah. I happened to know how to use the equipment, and so they said, "Okay, well, come on over." And I got into safety management there, and like ran their safety program, and did a lot of chemical analysis. So yeah, I cut my teeth in chemistry labs, which is why I'm so interested in the scientific aspect of how we do our work.
Wow.
But then I had some health problems, and I had to move home. And I had some connections in the engineering industry, and so my undergraduate, I've got a journalism degree with a chemistry minor. And so they said, "Well, you've got a journalism degree, like come on over and do some proposal assistant work for us while you're like dealing with this health stuff." And I said, "Okay." And then I kind of just, that was the end of that. Like I stuck with it. After I got out of grad school, I studied social and behavioral health in grad school, and then came out and just went right back into proposals and SEO content and online marketing. So yeah, like most of us, I fell into it by accident. Okay. So I went off in between proposal jobs, to these more technical roles, and then came back again through a series of misadventures. And
series of misadventures.
it just happens. I got hired on as a data analyst at this software company, which is because I have got data analytics experience. And then they laid everybody off in my business unit, and they happened to be hired for a proposal person. I said, fine, I'll go back into proposals. All right.
Okay, so a series of misadventures, like truly, like got laid off, got some skills in the tool set. Let's just pick one.
Yeah. Well, what happened at this other job though was that we had Loopio, and I'd never seen technology like this before to help automate our work. And I was instantly a brand advocate as soon as I started seeing this technology at work, because it saved me like 40% of time. And I've worked myself into the hospital in proposal jobs before, which is why I was really not not excited about coming back into the domain, if I'm honest with you.
Right.
But it was financially beneficial at the time. So I came back, but then I was like, wow, this is something I'm super passionate about. I really want to help people be able to experience the same benefits that I have experienced. Because if I can help other people not work themselves to death in this context, so I got on with it. I got on with the proposal team over at this other company, and then I just started chipping away at Loopio and being like, hey, do you need someone? Like, and I interviewed for a couple roles and they were like, nah, this isn't a good fit. It's, we got to think about this because I'm not in Canada. Right.
Right.
Pandemic hit, all kinds of things happened. And they said, well, maybe you would like to come on board as Director of RFP Excellence. And I said, yes.
Oh, wow.
I would love to.
This is like a long-term strategy sort of byproduct of like, hey, I'm interested. Let's talk about it. No, okay, what else is there? And then so finally the pandemic happened and that kind of impacted the focus of their business and they said, hey, we need you.
Yeah. And really what I had done was wrote down, how people have like vision boards and things along those lines. I wrote down the characteristics of a company that I wanted to work for because I find that in the proposal space, we end up so often really struggling with the work environments that we're in. And of course, I can't really speak to whether or not that's common for other people in these industries, but I feel like it's just a constant fight to find the right fit. And so I was really intentional about finding the next role. And the reason I chose Loopio was because the culture there is so respectful on every level. We're given the ability to innovate. We're given the ability to work really well on our teams. And I think everybody's really moving intentionally towards excellence there. There's so much momentum and it's the best work environment I've ever been in personally. So I can't say enough good stuff.
Well, that's good. So you talk about excellence. How does Loopio or how do you define excellence? What does that look like if you're director of RFP excellence? How do you know you're making your goals and meeting your mark?
Sure. So it's still a relatively new position. So what my activities are to a
Oh, that's
lot
cool.
of the to a lot of extent is just delivering educational content to our customers and to the market at large. I know I'm successful if I am able to deliver that content, and also if we're seeing engagement from customers and from folks in the marketing realm, like if folks who are interested in our product. But also I'm measuring success a lot by just getting more visibility for the company. So a big part of my role is acting as essentially a product evangelist for Loopio out there in the world. Doing things like talking with you today, doing things like talking with APMP, or evangelizing at conferences and things along those lines. So the more visibility we get for the organization, the better.
Awesome. So I'm happy to be a part of that. Hopefully it's a way for people not to end up in the hospital in this business.
Right.
As you mentioned, that was kind of your experience. And I've talked to so many people who burned out or just said, look, enough. Or, it's amazing to me when people can have 20 and 30-year careers doing this. It's like, what zen did you find?
Yeah,
Can
we've
you
done
share it with me?
We've done research that indicates that the average tenure in the proposal manager role is 18 months. That's it.
I would pretend to say I'm shocked, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are for people who aren't crazy yet.
Right? Yeah.
One serious note, because I feel like I've kind of sidetracked a little bit.
Yeah, you're good.
What skills do you find are essential to be successful in your role?
Yeah. A lot of times people think proposal managers are primarily writers, and I would really challenge that assumption. Of course, writing is a great skill to have in any business context. But I would say if I were to start all over again and I wanted to make sure I laid the foundation properly, I would focus so heavily on project management.
Man.
Yeah. So as a proposal manager, but now in the role that I have now, I'm in customer success and customer experience. And so the role I have now, like, believe it or not, this may sound strange, but the jobs that I had, like bartending or waiting tables in grad school and through various points throughout my life, you want to talk about understanding the customer experience. That's a great way. It's a great place to start. So what do you think about the skills that come along with customer service on a direct frontline basis? It's the ability to empathize, the ability to say, how can I help? The ability to analyze data. And also really to take constructive feedback and be a little bit thicker skinned and understand that we need to serve the customer properly. So it's really interesting because my role is so blended with the proposal manager activities and the customer experience activities. So I kind of have to have knowledge of both.
Yeah, I think people take for granted like backgrounds and things like retail or customer service jobs aren't important, but I think that they are honestly the thing that can set you apart in a role like yours or in proposal management, because ultimately you were dealing with customers, whether they're internal or external, and you've got to be able to quickly pick up personalities and figure out how to navigate things so that you get them done. You've got, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 projects going on simultaneously and multiple personalities attached to each, and sometimes you're working on 2 or 3 different efforts with the same person. And so you've got to even understand what are their priorities in between things. So you go, okay, so this is the big deal. This is the one we got to do. Like just managing that whole process and speaking to people in a way of like I understand like this is the apple of your eye, but we also need you to write for this or show up to this shortlist presentation. Like you were absolutely correct. Like I think about my time at Macy's in retail. And so sometimes you got people that are coming in and they're shopping because it's their birthday. And then you got people that are like, I just lost my son and I need a funeral outfit. Like, and you've got to be able to shift gears to be able to help both of those people. I mean, and those are 2 very different spaces in life. So I get it when you talk about like, hey, bartending helped me be good at my job. I know people think that's strange, but I've had other people tell me that too. Like, oh, I'm a realtor, but being, in hospitality, it helped me. It's like, you really don't understand.
Yeah, I love this. I love this comment about being a former journalist. It is just like building your beat, because if you're out there, scoping those relationships, this is what I think, the technical skills that we have in most of these jobs, I don't mean to diminish their importance. They are important. But I would say they're not as important as just understanding how to really get along with people and how to build an internal reputation for yourself within your organization. I think those 2 components are extremely important. And when it comes, to doing my work, waiting tables is one of the best experiences I ever had in this way, because when I think about my focus, my passion is on efficiency in work. And if you are an inefficient server, you are going to go home exhausted at the end of every day. Like I always thought about the ways in which I could avoid taking one extra step. How can I carry one additional thing? Not even kidding. What can I do all at once to batch things together so I don't have to keep running back and forth? Because I would get tired and it's a lot on your body, right?
So, right. Yeah. Like, okay, if you're going to walk past this thing 3 times just to do this one thing, maybe if you got an extra hand or a tray to put it on, like those things matter. Like, and so I see where you're going with, efficiency being a part of it. I love this comment too. Another former journal here. It's like building your beat, building relationships with your subject matter experts, your VPs, your vice presidents, etc. So a really excellent point. Thank you so much for your comment. And we've got Ivory here. She said, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday, Ivory. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you.
Good morning.
Yeah. So yeah, so many of your experiences sound like they build up to where you are now. What would you say was one of the most important lessons you learned in your new role, since this is something relatively new?
Oh, important lessons. Definitely. Be humble when you're coming into a new role. So I came in as a key hire, right? As somebody who's like supposed to be influential in the business and like, driving certain aspects of the change. And I've been that person before at other companies. Like, you're here, you're going to drive some change, everything's going to go well. And I came in and I was like, yes, I know what I'm doing. And I immediately started doing stuff that did not make sense for the business. What I would say, the lesson that I've learned previously and the lesson that was reinforced this time, take 90 days and get your feet under you. Really dive in, really learn, be humble, and make sure that you're learning from those people around you, because the folks around you, even if you think their knowledge, like you have to think that their knowledge is worthwhile. You have to shift your mindset so that like for me, I had to be like, yes, all of these people, like, oh, I'm great. Okay. Yes. But they are also really great. Like we're all great together.
Right. Like you like I'm a part of this big, amazing puzzle. Like that's why I'm here. I think that's a really excellent reminder. It looks like this resonated with our audience. Also, Ivory has a question. We're going to jump into that next too. But someone said, yes, be humble and be humble throughout our careers. I agree that the humility is important for sure. And you said you took the first 90 days and kind of felt out like the organization. Like, What were some of the things you discovered in those first 90 days that maybe surprised you?
Yeah, well, it was really interesting to see how the teams functioned together. And it's really, it's really a very cool experience to go from one of these kind of arcane industries like engineering or legal, which, they have a lot of rules and regulations. And to be in a really forward-facing tech organization that has this acceleration and that has this momentum behind them. It's not like a move fast and break things kind of, but it's like much faster paced and like very responsive. And so I observed a totally new way of doing work. Like I'd never been in an industry where this was the ethos or the kind of practice. And I've got to say, I really enjoy the speed of, I'm usually the fast mover in the organizations that I'm a part of. And here I'm like, whoa, okay, give me a second.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, it's very exciting though.
A really odd shift from going from like you're the speedy person to like now you're like, I got to keep up. Speaking of paces and things of that nature, I think this is a great opportunity to kind of plug in Ivory's question. She says, how do you manage avoiding burnout when the proposal team is less than 5 people?
Yeah. I've worked mostly on small proposal teams, so this is a really great question. And the answer that I would have here is it's twofold. Is number one, you've got to make sure you get the right resources in place. So this isn't me trying to shill for my company, but I'm just trying to say like proposal automation or technological tools, if you've got a small team, are absolutely essential. That could look like a really great SharePoint directory. It could look like a Loopio library instance. It could look like a custom software that you might have developed for your team. But if you can find a technological tool to help you organize your data more effectively so that you walk into your library and you put your hand on the right thing, you're going to be faster at your job, and then you're not going to have as much burnout. Second, data. What I spent so much time doing in my last proposal role was understanding the capacity of my team and then refusing to do additional work on top of that. And I'm not saying that to be like adversarial, but there is no reason for us to be doing additional work if our capacity, if we've optimized as far as we can right now, we have a limit and we have to start saying no. Okay, but you cannot say no without data. Otherwise, they'll just think you're a cranky person, which we don't want. So what I did was I estimated, I just spent a lot of time in the data, understanding exactly how long it took us to do proposals, exactly what our turnaround times were expected to be, and the average time that the salespeople gave us to complete the work. And so with that, we had a little dial that went from like green to red. And if it was in the red for the week and they brought us something new, we had to have a very sincere discussion around what needed to be removed from the system in order for us to get that work done. And then when you understand the data behind the work that you're doing, then what you can do is advocate more effectively for the resources that I mentioned in the first part, right? You can say we need additional headcount, or hey, look, for X number of dollars, we could think about bringing on an automation solution that might help us a little bit more, or let's think about refining our go no go process. But it all starts with measurement.
That makes perfect sense. Starting with measurement, what is our actual capacity to get this done? And like you said, well, if this is a bigger priority, what are we taking off the table?
And if you're a revenue driver within your organization, say 92% of the revenue comes from proposals, you have a leg to stand on. You have a lot of credibility, right? If you're bringing in $10 million to that business every year, you deserve a voice at the table when it comes to resourcing and when it comes to capacity. And I think it's so important. If you don't have an understanding of your business value, then you can't understand how big your voice is. So that's something that I'm very passionate about, is data management. And it feels like it takes so much additional time, but I will tell you, take those 6 weeks, build out a reporting scheme, and the investment will pay itself back.
That is excellent advice, and I think this really resonated with Shantae. She said, "I feel like having data is key in discussions about additional resources." I couldn't agree more. I have this conversation a lot with people that go, I'm doing a little research to find out, like, well, how many proposal people on your team? Like, I get those calls here and there from people, and they ask, they're like, because we've got a firm of X, engineers or technical people, and only this many proposal managers or marketing staff, and so they're trying to get a gauge on what is the standard. So excellent advice, Kathryn. Thank you. And Ivory said thanks. It's like all caps.
Absolutely.
So really, really nailed it for her. I got another question from the audience actually, and I want to fill this and then we'll kind of keep going. It's Brittany. She says, "Happy Saturday, Brittany. Glad to have you." She says, "What's your favorite thing so far about being in the tech industry?"
Yeah, my favorite thing so far. And so I have so little experience in tech that I'm not sure if I can generalize this to every organization. But I will say so far, I feel as though tech is much more welcoming than other industries that I've worked in the past. We have intentional efforts around BIPOC and LGBTQ and women in tech. We have It's a very intentional drive towards inclusion in the workplace. And it makes me feel for the first time as a 36-year-old woman that I can actually really be myself at work, and that I can also appreciate the wonderful offerings that everybody else has to bring to their jobs. So the work is it's work. But I mean, it's work, right? Like everybody
It is,
when you
and I
boil it
think it
down.
takes time for you to get to that headspace of like, it's a job. It's a job still. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you might be passionate, you might be excited, but like it's still work.
I can do all kinds of work. Like I've proven that to myself. But what's important, like really, but what's important to me is having people around me that are ambitious and that are considerate and compassionate and kind and thoughtful. And I will say that I've encountered a full culture of that in my current workplace. And that's it's elevated my daily experience so much. So that, to Brittany's point, yeah, that's been my favorite part so far.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm glad you found your happy place.
Definitely.
Brittany, thank you for that question. Great question. Also, Ivory, like you guys, if you got questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will do my best to include them as a part of today's chat. That is literally the reason the show exists, for us to be able to get together and talk about the things we don't know about a variety of careers. So what did you want to be when you grew up though? Like, you've tried all these different hats. You've like been a bartender, you have been like, in a lab working on chemicals with a mask on, like, and not like a mask like we were on airplanes, but like a chemical mask.
Gas mask.
So
Yeah.
like I would just love to know, what did you want to be?
You may not believe this. When I was in middle school, I decided I wanted to be a dairy farmer.
What? Okay, so talk to me about this.
Because I wanted really, really sincerely to make my own ice cream. Like I wanted to be the person who created the elements that went into the ice cream. So actually I did take a fair number of agricultural related classes in college. And I thought at one point that I wanted to be a dairy farmer when I was younger. So I kind of I thought about it. I went to a school that had agriculture and I took some stuff and I was like, yeah, this it's not for me. But yeah, it's not the common.
You wanted to be a dairy farmer, but
I did want to be a dairy farmer.
Your reason is because you wanted to make your own ice cream.
Yes, I wanted to have a dairy farm and make my own delicious ice cream. So that did not work out, thank goodness, because dairy farmers there are tied to their operations. It's very difficult to get away. So it's nice to have vacation as a proposal manager. But it seemed like an interesting thing at the time, so I hung on to that for a while.
So tell me this: what's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, I'm a butter pecan fan. Yeah, are you too?
Yes. So now we're ice cream friends. We've got to like have an ice cream date.
Yeah. Give me butter pecan with a scoop of pumpkin during the fall season. Like,
okay, a scoop of pumpkin, like ice cream, or just a scoop of like pumpkin?
No, pumpkin ice cream.
Okay, I'm not really into pumpkin anything, but I might try it.
Give it a shot. See what you think.
Okay, so pumpkin ice cream.
Yeah.
All right. This might be worth trying.
Fair enough.
I do weird ice cream flavors like matcha, so it's cool.
They have this great place over here called Sunday in Glenwood Springs, and they've got one that's like a blackberry mint. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, they do real. Yeah. That and coffee ice cream is what someone's saying here.
Yeah, yes, my favorite flavor, that and coffee ice cream. Okay, look, we're on to something. We got an ice cream squad.
I'm just saying, maybe we'll all be late in life dairy farmers. Y'all can come and hang out.
Look, I will come hang out on your farm, but I know I'm not going to be a dairy farmer.
It's okay. You can eat the ice cream. No. It's okay.
I will visit. I will probably participate in some random one-off or two-off activities, but don't see myself being a farm girl. And I mean, I was born in the Midwest, but that's about as good as we're going to get about farm life.
Fair enough.
Oh, so, okay, somebody else is with me. No pumpkin. Look, I feel like pumpkin is almost polarizing as cilantro.
Yes. Yes.
You are the team pumpkin or no? No way.
I'm team pumpkin, team cilantro, and team coconut. Like,
Okay,
Yes to all.
I live for coconut. Like I have coconut water and like coconut milk and all kinds of things. Like, and I didn't like coconut growing up, but now we're talking about everything except what we get. This is turned into a food chat. We're like, oh, there's coconut, there's pumpkin, and like
I'm just saying,
ice cream.
controversial foods. Yes.
Okay, so after the show, I'm definitely getting butter pecan ice cream, just so you know.
Good choice.
Not sure which place I'm going to go to, but I'm getting some. There's like 3 little spots in the neighborhood.
Sounds great. I think maybe I'll take my dog and we can go get some ice cream after we're done here.
Yeah, ice cream for everybody.
Nice.
Okay, back to the reason we're here.
Sure. Careers.
Although
yes.
ice cream is great, you need ice cream breaks in your career.
You do. That's 100% true.
Oh my gosh. So you wanted to be a dairy farmer growing up.
Yep.
At what point did you realize that wasn't going to happen, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, well, I got to college and there's a lot of barriers. Most people inherit dairy farms. Like you don't just go and like make a new one. Like that's not very common. I found a lot of barriers to that. So then I decided I went off to college and I started studying physics. And the reason I did that, like a normal person, is that I chose the subject that was the hardest for me in high school because I was like, I want to do difficult things. And so I'm going to go off and I'm going to be a physicist. That lasted about a year. I cried in front of my computer more times than I didn't. And then I was a geology major for like a minute. And then I went and took a career test. Right. And they said, I said, I got to get some idea about what I should be doing with my time.
Like what's your aptitude and like interest?
Yeah, and like to be honest with you, so I graduated high school when I was 15 and went off to started college. Like my mom had to drive me to college. That was a whole thing. Yeah, I got a lot of weird stuff. So it's difficult at that point in your life, I think, to really land on something that makes sense. And so I went and took this career assessment. Probably my sophomore year of college, and the theme that emerged, which is hilarious, it was like military general, gardener, lawyer, and journalist. And they were like, I was like, why are these things together? And they go, oh, control. You want to have control over whatever it is that you're doing.
Well, there you go.
And so I chose journalist because I thought communications made the most sense. I didn't want to abandon my sciences. So because I love chemistry, like when else in life do you get a chance to play around in a chemistry lab, but in college? Like, and we got to do things where we like sealed off the box and like pumped nitrogen in and created an inert atmosphere and like, put our hands into the glove box. And it was like,
that sounds fun.
It was like something out of like a Michael Crichton movie, it was just really cool stuff. And I didn't want to abandon that. So I stuck with communications and a chemistry minor. So I could maybe one day be a science writer. And then I came out, I did journalism for like a little bit, and then Heidi O went off right into science and enjoyed that tremendously. But honestly, I just do whatever I find interesting at the time. And that is how my career has been built too. I'm like, I need to make some money.
This week. In an exchange on LinkedIn, you were like, I have career ADHD too. I was like, oh, someone who understands. I'm like, I could try that. I could try this. Might be really good at this and good at that, and maybe discover I'm awful at something, but usually it works out because I'm just as stubborn as I want to be. I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out. Like,
and you're curious too, I imagine. Like you probably. Super. Yeah, you want to know everything.
This is why I got the journalism degree, because I was like, I can just go talk to people about all of the things. And here we are today talking about random things.
Yes. Because the world is so interesting. And like, why? This is the thing. For a lot of years, I looked at folks who had managed to be bureaucratic and like stay in the same role for a really long time. And I envied them, but now I realize that my experience is just as valid. I did see Shantae asking she said how cool to graduate at 15. Thank you, Shantae. I appreciate that. Yeah, I started school when I was 4. I skipped 3rd grade and then I graduated in 3 years from high school. So that's how I got that to happen.
Yeah, 15. Trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. That's overwhelming beyond measure. Like most of us at 18 and 19 are still clueless.
Yeah.
And so you wanted to be in science. You tried journalism out for a year, shifted back into your first love, and now here we are years and different experiences later at Loopio.
Yeah.
How has your love for science impacted the way you do work?
Oh yeah, dramatically. So this is one of the coolest things. I think people who are in proposals who tend to be particularly successful, like I respect folks with marketing backgrounds and business backgrounds, and the people that I see that are transforming the industry now are people who have backgrounds that come from different disciplines. So there's a gentleman, Anthony Rossi, over at MX right now, he's got like an IT background, and he's driving a lot of IT theory through the proposal space. We've got a couple of other people that I'm aware of who are like have agricultural backgrounds or who have engineering backgrounds that are coming into the proposal space. They think about work really differently. The reason that science changes the way that I think about my work is because I always analyze the steps and the processes, because wasting my time, like there's nothing that bothers me more than something that wastes my time. Like if I have to stand in line, or if I have to do stupid work that I I don't want to do stupid work. I want to do good, enriching work. Okay.
Amen.
And in scientific labs, we optimize the process because we cannot afford to waste chemicals, right? A lot of these chemicals are extremely expensive, difficult to get, difficult to source, and we have to be really mindful. The chemical instruments also are very sensitive. The parts are difficult to get, so you have to be really on point when you're executing your work. And that's how I feel that has really impacted my approach to proposal management, is because I need things to be done quickly, and I don't want to redo them, and I don't want to do stupid work. Like again, the computer can do the things that are easy to be done. So really that drive towards efficiency and the drive towards measuring every aspect of my process so that I can identify where things are failing and really help folks drive towards a better experience, because nobody likes wasting their time.
Right. No, I mean, the time is the one thing you can't get back. You can make more money, but the time, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't know how many days we have.
Right. Well, and I think it's just it makes for a bad experience as a proposal manager when you feel like you're oh, okay, I'm done, and then you have to, like, I've spent weekends when I could be out enjoying the wonderful Colorado ski season. I've spent weekends printing 700-page documents, only 14 copies of a 700-page document, only the next day to find out that the government was like, never mind, we want it on electronic. Like that kind of stuff
That's
makes
the
me
kind of
like
something that you lose your mind.
makes me a little cranky.
Woo!
Yeah, that's not how we want to do stuff.
700 pages, 14 documents. And
Yeah.
by the way, can you just send it to us on a flash drive?
I just about drove to that office in St. Louis and said, "Excuse me, sir."
Yeah, I'd have been like, "Can I get a drink and a nap in exchange for my trouble?"
I think you need to give me a couple days off. Yeah. So anyway, that kind of stuff, because I think that the human potential behind all of our work is so important to preserve and to celebrate. And when we can allow humans to be the ones that are making these very critical decisions and using our brains in the way we ought to, then you're going to be more satisfied at work.
Yeah.
Okay.
This comment I thought was really, really interesting. So that's such an insightful comment regarding science vis-a-vis proposals. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on changing the narrative or perception of proposals as something that can be accurate, legitimate, or scientific. I think that is a very powerful seed to plant. And I really would love to see people kind of start to view the work that way. Because I feel like it's seen so much as like this art, and then you get people to tell you, well, make it pop or this or that. And you're like, there's so much more that goes into this process than, let's copy and paste some stuff together and ship it off. And that's where the difference, rises in whether or not you win or lose or somehow unseat your competition that's been the incumbent forever. It is in digging into the science of it, and not the process science, but also I feel like the social science behind it. Like, what are the things that persuade people? Are you really speaking in a language that matters to people? And you can't do that when you're over there proofreading for the fifth time.
No. And let me tell you, there's some really interesting research. And if you come to Lupicon, again, you can get the full story on this. I'm not allowed to tell you everything about it yet. It's like Tuesday, you can find out more. But Loopio has done a bunch of internal research about textual analysis around what actually drives a proposal win. So we want to find out how behaviorally buyers are choosing proposals over other ones. And to this LinkedIn user's point, the way that we can legitimize this is that we have found that there are certain elements of good writing that actually drive towards a proposal win all the time. Like what drives me absolutely bonkers is that we get these technical experts and they're like, this isn't good writing. And they change things. And they put semicolons in different places. Okay, fine. Like be a grammar person. That's fine. You can do that. But I really want to know what in that content is driving towards a win. And when you have systems like Loopio, what you can do is the system can help you find the elements of your writing that need to be improved so that you can drive towards the win. For example, we have found that sentiment really you don't need to worry about how positive your sentiment is as much as you might think, right? Like if the best type of tone for a proposal, according to science, like data and math, you can see this actually, we analyze thousands of proposals. The best type of sentiment is essentially neutral with like a slight bit of positivity. So if you're like effusive and ebullient and saying, lots of exclamation points, that puts people off. But if you're like overly technical and you're like really, driving to it, that also puts people off. Oh yeah, but make it pop. No,
yeah,
like
this cracks me up because I have heard that so many times. I just don't even like have words to respond. I just say, hey, I don't really know technically what you're looking for. Can you give me an example? Because make it pop is not really meaningful.
Yeah. We get hung up. We get hung up so much on what I've heard folks call bug dust. Like because okay. Have you ever heard of Parkinson's law? Is that work expands to the time that it's allocated? So Parkinson was this business theorist, and like back in the 1950s, he described another phenomenon in which imagine. And it aligns so beautifully with the proposal management process. So imagine you're building a nuclear power plant, and in a town, and the engineer comes in and he's got the plans, or she's got the plans, and they present it to the city council. And on the city council, like 8 of the 10 people are just lay people. One person has a little bit of science knowledge, and the other person is a nuclear engineer. Okay, so the nuclear person, the plant, they bring it in. Okay, the 2 scientific people ask some questions like that are more in depth, but then they also mention the fact that there's going to be a bike shed at the nuclear plant. Well, nobody understands how nuclear plants are built, but everybody understands bike sheds, and they understand the need for the bike shed. And so what happens is that the meeting devolves from talking about the impact that the nuclear power plant is going to have on their community into what color should the bike shed be. Okay, if you does this sound like proposal management to anybody? Like
yes, because people forget like that a lot of times the person on the other side is not another engineer or another architect or another, software developer. Like they're people like that are like, will the bridge be safe for my son to ride the school bus over? Like that's what matters. You've got to be able to, like you said, really grasp the sentiment behind the project and what that means to the people who are going to be the end users or stakeholders and beneficiaries, and speak to that piece just as much as you can talk about, we've narrowed down our process and procedures so that we can save you money.
Yeah.
Big whoop.
And not only that,
everybody else said that.
in the proposal management process, don't we often get hung up on the bike shed? Doesn't the CEO often go, well, why is this box red? Isn't that a thing that happens all the time?
I'm not supposed to laugh, but yes.
No, well, I had a boss, and I'm not going to name names. I had a boss who made me wear gloves to assemble the proposals because he was convinced that we were losing because there were fingerprints on the plastic covers of these proposals. He thought that was a driving factor in the loss. Okay, if that's not a bike shed at the nuclear power plant, I don't know what is.
Wear gloves because fingerprints on the cover are the reason you were losing.
Yes. So again, everybody in the proposal process, we have all these people who don't have a deep understanding of what we're trying to do, and they're weighing in with their opinions. And yes, they're valid. And yes,
I get like you don't want to send smudgy stuff off. Like, I know when I do production, I don't generally wear nail polish because I've seen polish streak the corners of pages.
Yeah, but I'm not like,
but I don't think I'm going to lose for that. Like, that's not why I'm doing it. It's just because I'm like a little OCD. Like,
right. Yeah, it's astonishing. It's just astonishing. Like all of the bug dust and all of the little, yeah.
These comments are cracking up, y'all. The things they get stuck on. And she said, "Girl, stop! No way." Yes, Wade, this is what happens.
So how do we, I mean, like ultimately when we're coming down to this discussion of how do we elevate the legitimacy of our profession, is we drive people away from the bike shed. We drive them, oh yeah, no coffee in the production room. That's
Nothing.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a story behind that.
I feel like there is. Someone was probably printing off those 700 page documents and knocked the cup over and it was over.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got to drive people, we've got to educate folks, and we have to keep hammering home that the color of the box, I promise you, is not the reason we're losing. But if you can't come to your leaders with the reasons that you are winning and losing, that's why you need a great debrief program. Even a simple debrief that helps debunk these ideas. If I could have gotten to that supervisor and been like, the gloves aren't helping. Like if I could have called every customer and said, did you notice the fingerprints on the front page? And they probably would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. But people get this stuff in their heads, and the way to debunk it with data. Yeah.
Data. Love it. So we have had some fun touch points here today. We talked about the fingerprints. We talked about, the whole weekend of printing this humongous document and being told, we'll just send it up electronically. And it sounds like what you do is you were really in the industry to say, hey, we don't have to work like this. There are ways to be more effective. There are ways to get higher quality work done faster. Not just here's a solution to put you out of a job. And that's some of the energy, that I've gotten from people. They're like, I don't like automation software. I mean, and I'll say I personally have had my own moments of reservations, but also you said, winding up in the hospital, being, burned out, stressed out, just borderline psycho. You gotta go, there's a better way to do this. And so have a conversation at least. What are you losing by having a conversation?
Right. A lot of folks are nervous about automation, and I understand and appreciate that. And I do see, if I'm fully honest with you, 30 years down the road, do I think proposals are even going to be a thing? I think it's possible that computers will sell to computers. I really don't know. But for now, automation doesn't take away your job. It helps you go home after 40 hours. And we have this misdirected martyrdom complex in our industry that's well, oh, look, I work so hard. Okay, well, are you winning more though?
Right, 60 hours deep. What are the results? Your return's probably not as strong.
Yeah, and you're probably exhausted, and it's only a matter of time before you reach physical burnout. And I'm saying that because I reached physical burnout at age 30 and ended up in the ICU. So
can you talk to me about that experience? Is that okay for us to talk about what physical burnout was like for you?
Yeah. So I was working, 65, 70 hours a week. I had a lot of, I studied for the CPSM exam. I got the CPSM 2 or 3 months after I was eligible to get it. So I started studying before I was eligible. And then I was leading a lot of SMPS programs and just really pushing myself hard. Right. And one thing led to another, and I ended up in the hospital with a pulmonary embolism, because I was eating crap. I wasn't treating my body well.
Crackers and drinking tea and up around the clock. The stuff we all do when we are super overly focused on the deadline and not making sure that we can maintain ourselves to even see the deadline through. I've gotten sick a few times myself. It's you might want to take a step back, ma'am.
Well, listen, when you don't take the time to rest, the universe makes you rest. And as I'm a competitive athlete, a competitive
strong woman. A world record strong woman.
Yeah, and I have to rest. This is the week before my competition, and I am not allowed to pick up a weight because if my body does not rest before this contest, it will not be fully repaired. Okay, so and this is what we're driving towards. I'm not saying that automation is going to make your life rainbows and sunshine and cinnamon buns, right? It's not. But what it does is it takes 30% of the weight off, and it just helps you feel okay, I can go home and I don't have worries racing through my head about all the projects that I have going on. I can see them all in one place. I understand what's tracking, and I understand how to deliver the data that will drive better decisions at my company. And I'm empowered, right? I'm not a victim of my circumstance. I'm empowered because I have data. Very important.
That makes so much sense. I've talked to some people who are, you think that whole state of mind racing, I'll get a year or two in, it'll get better. And for some, it never does. No. It never goes away for some. And then you'll have periods where things are fine, and then you go back to the tick 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 sort
Mhm.
of, oh crap, did I leave that on the printer? Like it's 3
Yep.
a.m., ma'am.
Yeah, fun. Well, and the root cause of a lot of this stuff, I've got a buddy, Karen Morgan, who is pushing for engineers and technical professionals to have more business acumen. Because in proposals, we have to have a lot of business acumen. We have to understand how much it costs to produce a proposal. We have to understand the win rate, the shortlist rate, where we think that process is falling down, right? And I think what happens is that we educate these engineers and we educate these scientists and technical professionals, and they are extremely proficient in those domains. And they do not have the training to understand business decisions. And then they get promoted, and so whoever's above them probably has the business training, but they don't. So how do we focus a lot on getting engineers and technical folks to understand how to communicate. I think we also need to understand how to get them to know business.
Yes.
Because they're making decisions that make sense from a technical mind, and we can't fault them for that. But what we have to do is say, hey, you've got to get more business training on board in order to understand how these decisions affect our ability to earn a living. Like, you can engineer that building all you want, but if there's no next building, yeah, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to share?
I would just say the proposal teams, I think a lot of times, feel like there's no way to advance. Like, you get stuck in proposal coordinator, proposal manager, right? Um, people talk to me all the time. I get messages like probably every week asking, how did you get to a director role? How did you get out? And I would just say, be creative in applying your skills, right? Um, Find the products, find the services, find the companies and the experiences that you resonate with and go there. I did not choose this job based on the responsibilities that I have or on the title. I chose it based on the mission of the company and the fact that I believed in it. And I think that if more proposal people would leverage their skills in this way too, we would also see more advancement. There's no reason you can't be a VP of sales with a proposal background. Like, well, you don't see it very often, but where's the justification that you can't do that? So it's okay to be ambitious in these roles. And anybody who tells you that you have to stay in a proposal coordinator role, proposal manager for X number of years, like, no. Leverage your skills into something that works for you, and take your knowledge and don't let those people tell you you can't get ahead. There's no reason that you can't.
And there you have it from Kathryn, who is Director of RFP Excellence at Loopio. I keep butchering this today,
It's
y'all.
okay.
I feel like I need a sticky note on my computer. Um, or maybe you like to drink coffee, but I
But just get
refuse.
some ice cream in you, get some sugar, get some blood sugar up, and you'll
Good point, because I totally skipped breakfast this morning. Like, shame on me.
It's the most important meal, I'm saying.
Oh, look, I'm learning, like, my body is giving me more non-negotiables as I like go further into my 30s. It's like, yeah, that thing where you thought you were going to just roll off 4 hours of sleep.
Nope.
No. It
Nope.
is like, you're awake, right? You're going back to sleep right now. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. No, I'm learning. There are new rules.
Yep. Yep. As we get older, that's definitely true. And as I've gotten farther into my athletic career, I'm noticing that too.
Oh,
Sleep is
great. Yeah.
critical.
Look, I'm so glad this has been helpful. Thank you for this today. Someone said super refreshed. I'm glad this has been a space where you can be refreshed and recharged. Like, that's
Mhm.
really what Saturday is for. We got another someone said thank you. This has been a great conversation. Look, thank you guys for making it a great conversation. Thank you for coming with
Yes.
your questions, your comments, your feedback, so that we understand what you guys need. I don't want to just have a show where it's like, oh, let me talk about the things I want to talk about because is my show. This is really our space. That is really what I'm aiming to create, is community here. So thank you all so much for being a part of my community and for having this conversation with us today. Kathryn, thank you for giving me your time and your energy and talking about your story of, having absolute physical burnout and really discovering that you can take and leverage your skills to do something else, and helping people really understand that proposal management in a lot of ways includes a lot of project management, a lot of science, and that
Mm.
really being able to leverage and collect data is the way to shift gears and inform your coworkers and your leadership and ways that we can improve the experience of being a proposal manager. You shocked me a little bit when you said that the average tenure for a proposal manager across, I'm assuming, multiple industries is 18 months. Like not in a role, but like tenure overall. And having been, in the industry myself, managing proposals for like 7 years and a proposal manager for the last 3 specifically, I get it. I can totally understand why 18 months is typical. And I really hope we can find ways to change and improve the industry so that people can take advantage of the opportunities to grow, to build their networks, build the relationships, because the responses to proposals, RFPs is so critical. In really growing businesses, growing infrastructure, just so many things go forward as a product of a proposal. I remember my time at Capitol Records of all places, and my boss then said to me, everything starts with a proposal. And I don't think we think about that, whether it's this written 700-page document or 2 pages of like, here is the scope and the fee, sign here. Everything really does start with a proposal, whether that's, on the back of a napkin even. Like, I mean, I've heard of that too, but it's really important to think about it that way. Like, how does business get done if we're not proposing solutions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ramsey said, this was great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ramsey, for watching. I really appreciate you. She said, you're truly a jack of all trades, a Renaissance woman. I have to agree. You made APMP 40 under 40 just this past week. You were a world record strong woman holder, the director of RFP Excellence. You've been a bartender. You wanted to be a dairy farmer. Like, I mean, I don't know that that's a bad thing. I feel like historically we've been told you have to be one thing, you have to be excellent at it. And I feel like the way that the world is changing, shifting, and growing, really, to me, I feel like the richest sometimes in their life are in daring to take those different experiences and those roads less traveled, so that you can really just like max out. Like, I mean, what fun is it if like you go, I'm good at this thing and I'm going to do this. I mean, I feel like that's good and fulfilling for some people. Not to knock it, because I know for some people they go, look, I don't get my kicks out of going to work. Like, it's just a job for me. They're like, I'd rather know that I make enough money so that I can go spend 2 weeks up in the mountains with my family every year. Like, that's what really gets them going. For me, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of selfish. I want it all.
Yes.
She's like, me too.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important. We all often think about people who are advancing in work as being extreme specialists, and you need both. You need people who dive very deep into specific topics, and you need people like you and I who can draw connections and bring different practices into, like, you and I are bringing restaurant and retail practices into our proposal work. And if we never had done those things, we wouldn't be bringing those practices in. And if I'd never been in a lab, I wouldn't be bringing scientific practices in. Right. And it's just,
right.
If you can,
or I think about like, just like having like aspirations of entrepreneurship fresh out of college, and like following and consuming the media that I consumed. Honestly, I owe that sort of wanderlust to even being able to get into the AEC industry. My first job was an 8-week contract position. And one of my ideas was like a result of some of my other like side hustles and endeavors, like, fresh out of school. I was like, oh, this is a way we could save this company money. So I saved them $8,000. And like, that's how my 8-week contract turned into a 2-year position. So like, people can't underestimate the value of having somebody who's kind of a little bit, for lack of better words, all over the place. Because like you said, Ramsey said so true, because I feel like it takes both. I think it takes the specialist and the generalist to make the real magic happen. Like, one is not more valuable than the other. Like, it's a symbiotic relationship that can't be overlooked.
Absolutely. And sales, that's extremely important to recognize. So I think that's absolutely key.
All right, I have yapped enough. Thank you so much. If you'll hold on for me. Wait, one more thing, because I know some people are going to ask this, and I did not put this out there. If you guys want to get in touch with Kathryn, make sure that you connect with her on LinkedIn. Here is her link here in the comments where you can find her on LinkedIn. She is also on TikTok, guys. I don't know if she wanted me to tell you all that, but
yes,
I absolutely enjoy watching her TikToks. Like, some of them are about proposals, some of them are just about like workplace shenanigans, and they all make me laugh, but they're also sometimes so true. I cry a little, like somebody said they cried a little inside about the Make It Pop comment. So if you are looking for, you know, some levity to your work day, into your workflow, and some truth bombs, for lack of better words, you need to check Kathryn out on LinkedIn. A lot of her TikTok stuff gets posted to LinkedIn as well, so you don't necessarily have to join TikTok. I recently gave up and joined, but I'm just a lurker at this point, so don't follow me.
Fair.
So Kathryn, thanks again. Thank you all so much, as Ramsey, Brittany, you know, Ivory. I've got so many people that have engaged and interacted today. Look, I appreciate each and every last one of you. Look forward to next week's episode. So join us again next week at noon right here on LinkedIn Live. I'm Unica Walcott, the host of Career Conversations. Love y'all.